Minnesota, January 14th, 11:58 p.m. Why do footprints lead into the snow and never come back out? A porch light flickers over a half-open door. A single coat lies crumpled beside a pair of boots, untouched, half buried by falling snow. Inside, a phone buzzes against an overturned chair. Timestamp, 11:58 p.m. Last seen. Haley Monroe, 28, had argued with her boyfriend for the last time. Neighbors heard shouting. Then nothing. No slammed door. No car engine. Just a silence thick enough to feel. 6 minutes later, a camera across the street caught her stepping out barefoot, wearing only a thin sweater, her breath visible in the freezing air. She never made it past the front yard. Main suspect, Ethan Calloway. Ethan told police she just needed space, but officers found her keys still hanging by the door, and the heater left running. By morning, snow had erased nearly everything, except one thing. Her footprints stopped 10 feet from the porch, perfectly, abruptly, as if she vanished mid-step. 3 days later, a plow driver spotted a torn piece of fabric near the frozen creek behind their house. Same color as her sweater. But when detectives followed the prints leading there, they noticed something impossible. There were 2 sets of footprints going in, and only one coming back. But one detail didn't add up. Who walked Haley into the dark, and why did they make sure no one saw her leave again? January 17 to 7:12 a.m. Minneapolis suburbs. What if the snow didn't just hide the truth? It rewrote it. The street looked ordinary again. The frost sparkled, the porch swept clean. But Detective Cole Anders noticed what others missed. A gap. Between the last footprint and the street, a faint drag mark. Like someone pulling weight through ice. New lead. Drag trail discovered. Inside the house, the heater still hummed. Haley's coffee mug sat half full, lipstick rim smudged, steam long gone. On the counter, her phone, charging, untouched since midnight. A message unsent. Riley, if I don't make it out, tell my sister. It stopped there. No send, no delete. Just frozen fear caught mid-typing. Unsent text found. 12:01 a.m. Ethan claimed he'd fallen asleep during the argument. Said she stormed off. But when they checked the hallway camera, something felt off. The timestamps jumped. Between 11:59 and 12:06, 7 minutes of footage gone. Missing footage, 7 minutes lost. Detective Anders replayed it frame by frame. Before the glitch, a blurred figure behind Haley. After it, snow falling untouched. No one opened the door in between. And yet, her coat, purse, and car keys all stayed inside. Contradiction detected. Neighbors remembered hearing something else. A low rumble beneath the argument, like machinery running. That sound matched the workshop in their basement. Next, the basement door was locked. What was running under that house? And why did Ethan say he didn't own power tools? January 17 to 4:46 p.m. Police search warrant executed. What was behind that locked basement door? And why did the air above it smell like bleach and cold metal? Detective Cole Anders stood at the narrow stairwell, flashlight trembling slightly against the wall. The lock had been newly replaced, shiny against the chipped wood. When it finally snapped open, the smell hit first. Sharp, chemical, wrong. Location. Basement entry. 4:46 p.m. The room below was half-lit by a dangling bulb, swaying slightly. On one side, a workbench lined with empty containers. On the other, a chest freezer plugged in, humming softly beneath the hum of the house. That same low vibration the neighbors had heard. Sound source confirmed. Basement freezer. Cole knelt, gloved hand steady. Frost had gathered around the edges of the lid. He brushed it off, revealing a small crack in the rubber seal. And something else. A thin strand of fabric caught inside. Pale blue. Haley's sweater. Evidence. Fabric match. Haley Monroe. Ethan stood upstairs, pacing. He kept saying, "I told her to leave. She just left." But his voice quivered when they asked why the basement key was on his chain. Main suspect, Ethan Calloway. When they lifted the freezer lid, silence filled the air. Inside, frozen solid beneath a layer of ice, lay plastic bags. Not body parts, not blood, letters. Dozens of letters. Each sealed, water-warped, addressed in the same looping handwriting. Haley Monroe. Every envelope stamped, but never sent. Clue. The letters. Detective Anders opened the top one. Inside, a note dated 2 weeks before she vanished. If anything ever happens to me, it won't be an accident. Please don't let him tell my story. Unsent warning, 14 days before disappearance. And beneath the stack under the frozen mail, a flash drive. New evidence recovered. What did Haley record before she disappeared? And who was she trying to expose? January 18 to 9:37 a.m. Evidence Lab. What if the missing woman left her voice behind, begging the world to listen before it was too late? The lab room was silent except for the steady click of the computer. Detective Cole Anders watched as the drive loaded. One single folder titled Proof. Inside, 7 video files. Each one labeled by date. Each one stamped with the same haunting signature, Haley M. Evidence Drive. Folder. Proof. The first video opened to a shaky frame. Haley sitting in her car, eyes red, whispering into the camera. He checks my messages now. He says I forget too much. But I remember everything. Her breath fogged the windshield. Behind her, headlights flickered, then went out. Video timestamp. Jan 3 to 11:21 p.m. The next clip was darker. Just the sound of a door closing. Then her voice again, trembling this time. If anything happens, it's because I tried to leave tonight. And then a sound. Metal scraping against wood. A muffled shout. Then static. Recording distorted. 8 seconds cut. Cole froze the frame at the last second. In the reflection of the car window, a figure. Broad shoulders. Dark jacket. Ethan. Visual ID. Ethan Calloway. But the final file wasn't a video. It was audio. A voicemail, unsent. Haley's voice. Quiet. Tired. Resolved. I can't keep pretending, Riley. If he finds this before you do, just tell Morgan I tried. Tell her I was almost free. And then a faint whisper. Not hers. You won't need to tell anyone anything. The line cut. Audio ends. 12:06 a.m. That timestamp matched the 7 missing minutes from the hallway footage. Timeline match. 7-minute gap confirmed. Cole leaned back, eyes cold. The flash drive didn't just tell her story. It proved it. But one question stayed burning. If Ethan destroyed her phone, who saved these files? January 19 to 6:43 p.m. Minneapolis Police Headquarters. Who saves evidence when the person it could save is already gone? Detective Cole Anders stared at the flash drive again. But this time, his tech analyst noticed something strange. The files weren't uploaded from Haley's laptop. They came from a shared Wi-Fi network. One registered 2 houses down. Source trace. Neighbor Wi-Fi, CarverNet. The name hit him immediately. June Carver, 61. Retired librarian. The neighbor who had called 911 about unusual noises that night. Cole and his team visited her small, cluttered living room. A stack of notebooks sat by her chair, each labeled with neat handwriting. Observations. Witness found. June Carver. She didn't flinch when she saw the detectives. I knew she'd need help, she said softly, adjusting her glasses. He kept unplugging the Wi-Fi, so I made mine open. She sent her videos through my signal at night. June had noticed the porch light flicker pattern. Twice, pause, twice again. Haley's silent SOS. Porch light signal. SOS pattern confirmed. Then she opened her notebook to a page marked January 14th, 11:59 p.m. Written in shaky ink. She was outside, arguing. Then she fell. Someone dragged her back toward the side gate. Cole asked why she hadn't gone outside. June's eyes watered. Because that same night, someone knocked on my door. I thought it was her. But it wasn't. Unidentified visitor. 12:02 a.m. She handed over her doorbell camera footage. One frame caught just before the snowstorm wiped the lens. A figure in a heavy coat, holding something small and dark. Cole zoomed in. It wasn't a weapon. It was Haley's phone. Evidence link. Haley's phone in stranger's hand. But here's where it twisted. The shape of the glove, the stance, the coat, they didn't match Ethan. Someone else had been there that night, and whoever it was had access to both their phones. New suspect, unknown male, investigation reopened. If Ethan wasn't the only one in that house, who was helping him hide what really happened to Haley Monroe? January 20 to 8:14 p.m. Evidence review room. If Ethan wasn't alone that night, who walked beside him in the snow? The doorbell footage was grainy, but the shape was unmistakable. Broad shoulders, uneven gait, a limp. Detective Cole Anders froze the frame and enhanced the reflection in the glass door. A faint badge glinted under the porch light, security emblem, local repair company. Visual clue, security patch, Metro Repairs. A quick call to the company's records pulled one name, Dean Riker, 39. Recently fired. Last known address. The same rental property where Ethan and Haley lived. He was the landlord's maintenance contractor and Ethan's drinking buddy. New suspect identified, Dean Riker. Cole's pulse quickened. In Ethan's phone logs, Dean's number appeared 17 times that week. The last call made 12 minutes after Haley vanished. Phone connection, 12 minutes after disappearance. When officers brought Dean in for questioning, his first words were cold, rehearsed. I don't talk without my lawyer. But his hands shook. On his knuckles, faint scratches, half-healed, white against his skin. Cole laid a photo on the table, Haley's phone in his glove. Dean exhaled, eyes darting. She wanted proof, he muttered. Said she was gonna take him down. Take who down? Cole asked. Dean's voice cracked. Both of us, maybe. Confession begins. 8:47 p.m. He claimed Ethan called him that night. Said Haley had run off after the fight. Asked him to clean up the mess downstairs. But when Dean went to the basement, Haley wasn't gone. She was hiding behind the freezer. Dean said she begged him for help. He hesitated, and Ethan came back down. On-screen cue. Timeline collision. 12:03 a.m. Then Dean said something that chilled everyone in the room. I didn't kill her. I just carried what was left. But when they searched his truck, they didn't find blood. They found mud, rope fibers, and a piece of fabric that didn't match anything Haley owned. Contradiction detected. Fabric doesn't match victim. Someone else had been in that basement before her. And the frozen letters in the chest freezer? They weren't all written by Haley. New mystery. 2 handwritings found. So who was the second author? And what truth were they both trying to hide before everything went silent? January 22 to 9:56 a.m. Cold Case Unit. What if the last thing Haley hid wasn't her fear, but the name of someone else already gone? Detective Cole Anders sat in the dim archive room, the morning light slicing across boxes of evidence. On his desk, 2 letters side by side. One written in Haley's looping, anxious script. The other, smaller, angular, deliberate. Forensic report. 2 handwritings confirmed. The handwriting analysis returned a match. Not to Ethan. Not to Dean. But to Mara Calloway, Ethan's sister. Identity revealed. Mara Calloway, deceased, 2019. Mara had died 4 years earlier in what was ruled a car accident. Her boyfriend? Dean Riker. Cole flipped through old case photos, same house, same basement layout. A freezer in the exact same spot. A police note from that year read, victim's body found frozen beneath tool bench. Connection. 2019 cold case. Same property. The truth landed like ice in Cole's chest. Haley didn't just uncover her own danger. She'd stumbled onto Mara's. She found Dean's secret, and Ethan helped bury it again. But Haley tried to fight back, documenting everything before they could silence her too. Final motive. Cover-up of past murder. Cole pushed for a final search warrant. Behind the creek, In thawing ground, they found what Dean's truck mud had matched. A tarp, a bracelet, and bones wrapped in faded denim. 2 victims, 2 timelines, 1 haunting pattern. Bodies recovered, Haley Monroe and Mara Calloway. Ethan broke first. He confessed not out of guilt, but exhaustion. She kept asking about my sister. She wouldn't stop. She said I owed Mara the truth. His voice cracked, but his eyes stayed dry. Dean's last words before sentencing were colder. I told him the snow would cover everything, but the snow melted, and Haley's footprints, the ones that stopped mid-snow, finally led somewhere. They led to the truth. Case closed, February 2nd. Cole stood over the thawed earth, whispering the words she'd written on her last letter. If silence kills, then let my story make noise. The camera faded over her memorial. A small wooden cross marked with her name, and in the distance her porch light flickered twice, pause, twice again. In memory of Haley Monroe, because sometimes justice doesn't scream, it echoes. Subscribe to the Veil of Secret to keep the voices of the silenced alive.